each recite according to our abilities. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Congratulations. Ms. Dunn, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Chairman Kurtz,
Here.
Dr. Dimick,
Present.
Mr. Brzezowski,
Here.
Mr. Norback, and Mr. McPhee.
Gary Dunn is here. Determine we do have a quorum. Next item to consider will be the approval of the minutes of the past meeting. Do I have any volunteers?
Move to accept them with my suggested corrections.
Awesome. Moved by Dr. Dimick. Is there a second? And
Carrie
a second by
seconds it.
Ms. Dunn. Okay, thank you very much. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried unanimously by those commission members present. Take care of that. Next, communications. Suzanne, could you bring us up to date?
Sure. The first communication is a request for determination for a shed at 5 Beechwood Court. That's on the agenda under new business. Second is restoration plan for 720 Yalesville Road, which is on enforcement actions. Third is soil science report for the Garthwaite property, which is on Reese Road, also under unfinished business. Fourth is engineering comments for the same. 5 is soil scientist report for ball and socket, and 6 is ball and socket narrative, both of which are on the agenda under new business.
Inspection reports?
No written inspections.
Mr. Chairman, we're getting an echo from somebody's background.
Yes, I hear it. I don't know where it's coming from. Oh, we're not coming anymore. It's gone.
Okay. For staff inspection, there was a staff inspection of the property at Coleman Road. The commission may remember that there was a retaining wall that was approved on this property, and it was ordered that erosion control inspections be done weekly, which they have been abiding. There have been some erosion control issues with some of the storm events that we had from last week. And the property owner has indicated that they finalized the retaining wall, so I will be going out to inspect that. So that project is moving forward. And that's it for inspections.
Thank you. Enforcement actions on 720 Yalesville Road.
Yes, and
Have
the
to,
commission,
we're expecting a plan, right?
yes, the commission had ordered that a plan for restoration be submitted to the commission for review. And that plan has been submitted. And Jen Benno from Soil Science is here to speak about it.
Go right ahead.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Good to see you guys, albeit in a totally different setting. So yeah, 720 Yalesville Road, Cheshire. October 9th, 2020, I went out and I inspected the cleared areas. There's a very small portion of the wetland that was cleared, and a large portion of your non-encroachment area had been disturbed by the owner. So that's figure 1 in the report. I don't know if you have the report in front of you, but that's figure 1. The red line just indicates the non-encroachment line, and then the kind of wood edge, which is yellow and red, indicates the edge of clearing. So I went out there and I inspected the areas just to see what had been cleared and what vegetation was remaining in the non-encroachment area, so I could choose, I could select species that would be similar to what's there for the planting plan. I did notice several invasive species on the property within the area that needs to be planted. There's multiflora rose out there, bittersweet, Japanese honeysuckle, Japanese barberry, privet, locust, just to name a few. So that will need attention by the property owner on an ongoing basis, at least until the plantings become established and they can outcompete the invasive species. So essentially what I did is I used a 20 scale plan from the Harry E. Cole plan sheet, which is dated October 5th, 2020, and it's titled Property and Topographic Survey Map for the property, 720 Yalesville Road. The property owner asked us to not show any plantings in 2 areas, the proposed septic and the proposed, oh, I don't know what happened here. Oh,
I'm sorry, Jen, I'm putting your picture up. I was able to share it, so
Oh,
I hope
well,
that helps.
That's really cool. You did say it was going to be very exciting, so that is neat. I didn't know you could do that. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you can see the edge of clearing and your non-encroachment line, which was established previously. And also the wetland boundary is shown on there. So let's see. Can you jump to page 6, maybe,
Sure.
please?
Is this 6? Yes.
Yes. So that shows the overall proposed plantings that we're recommending. And as you can see, there's a proposed septic area and a proposed driveway with some grading within your non-encroachment area. So the owner asked us to not show plantings in those areas. Let's see. So the cleared wetland area, I'm proposing 1 tree and 5 shrubs. And in the cleared non-encroachment area, we're proposing 18 trees and 136 shrubs. Basically, the soils in the wetland, the cleared wetland area, have become vegetated. You know, the herbaceous vegetation's coming back. It's reestablishing in that area. So I don't think a seed mixture will be needed in the wetland area. There will be a seed mixture that'll be needed in the non-encroachment planting area just to keep the soils stabilized. And I recommend a seed mixture at the end of the report. It's from the New England wetland plants, or New England plants up there in Massachusetts. And they have a conservation wildlife mix or a New England wildflower mix. Either one would work in there, or a combination would be fine. So I've recommended native non-invasive species be planted within the non-encroachment and wetland areas. Species for the wetland include pin oak, the tree species, and the shrubs are winterberry, highbush blueberry, and arrowwood. Non-encroachment area plantings can include sugar maple, black birch, eastern red cedar, pin oak, red oak, black chokeberry, shadbush, sweet pepper bush, gray dogwood, red osier dogwood, and some winterberry. We also have some recommendations that the erosion sedimentation control measures should be maintained until the soils have all been stabilized on the site. We also recommend that the owner install some sort of a physical demarcation so there's not accidental intrusion into this non-encroachment area in the future. And that could include just rocks, or it could be some sort of fence. I did notice that there are quite a few large rocks on the site, so it could be a possibility. As I mentioned before, he'll need to manage the invasive species within the planting areas until the native non-invasive plantings become established and can compete. And finally, we do recommend monitoring reports for 5 years. And the monitoring reports should document the survival rate of the plantings, should document any erosion sedimentation control issues in the areas, and should document if any invasive species need to be controlled or managed. And I think that about sums it up. So if you have any questions,
I think it's a good plan. The only problem is this is a hearing for restoration, not a hearing for delineating the upland review area or the wetlands. We need to restoration of the site as was originally approved. Now, I know that the permit has expired, but that doesn't pertain to the plan that was approved, which includes the non-encroachment line as well as the wetlands line. And I think it's a little premature to discuss a new permit when we haven't solved the problem, which was violation of the old permit, and that the hearing calls for a restoration plan. That's my personal feeling. I don't know what the town attorney or the legal people would say about it, but that's the way I look at it.
Mr. Chairman, I agree it's a good plan, but there is the question of this proposed septic area, because that was, as far as I know, not part of the original permit, which, as you say, has expired. So I would say we approve the proposed restoration plan with the caveat that unless he goes through us to get a permit for this proposed septic, that restoration must extend through the rest of that non-encroachment area also.
Well, I agree with that, but I went about moving the line for the non-encroachment area.
Right.
What
Yes,
was
so
the
Mr.
removal of-
Chairman, the non-encroachment area was previously established. So what is shown on the plan that Ms. Benno presented, that was the established non-encroachment area. That has been cleared, and Ms. Benno was hired to look at only some of the area. That's what the property owner had hired her to do. So it does not address the full complement of what was damaged. And my suggestion to the commission is that I do not have any motions prepared for acceptance of the restoration plan tonight. But I do recommend, in looking at the information that was provided, that the silt fence has been removed, and the silt fence should be installed and put along the limit of clearing presently before even any planting takes place. Concern being that soil will move when we start to get when we get heavy rain again, that could be a problem. So that is a recommendation that I have to the commission, that a motion be made to require installation of the silt fence along that clearing. And then with discussion and guidance from the commission, I can come up with a language to approve the restoration plan that would include those areas that you're talking about. The non-encroachment area that was excluded from this restoration plan, that would be part of the order.
I think that'd be good. And realistically, when is this job going to be done, if approved?
Jen, when do you think that planting would begin?
Well, now we're into November, so I would think probably not until the spring at this point.
Okay.
Should the cleared area be stabilized for winter with a hay or straw covering of some sort?
I would think if you're, personally, I would think that would be a really good idea, whether it's something like that or wood chips or something, but something needs to stabilize that area.
Wood chips have the possibility of stifling some of the regrowth of the vegetation is coming in. The hay or straw would work better, I would think.
Yeah, well, whatever you recommend, yes, I definitely agree that something needs to be done to stabilize the area. Yes.
And so, Mr. Chairman, I recommend that if the commission is inclined, that a motion be made to order the installation of silt fence along the clearing limit. And also then that would include putting down hay or straw on the exposed soil in preparation for planting that will occur later.
Yeah, I could just plain move what Suzanne has said, or we could try to put it in a more formal form, but I move it no matter what.
Okay.
And moved by Dr. Dimick. Is there a second? We're going to fail for a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Seconded by Mr. Brzezowski. So the motion, probably Suzanne should
Yes.
say it, but I'm going to say it, is to approve the restoration plan as presented, not including this new proposed boundary, because that has not been
No,
approved at
Mr.
all.
Chairman, I'm not sure that we're ready for that part. I think the motion right now is to immediately order the restoration of the silt fence and stabilization of the area for winter. Then we need a second motion in terms of approving the restoration plan.
Well, I was thinking, if we're going to approve the restoration plan, we probably shouldn't, as long as we could approve the restoration plan, but not when they've changed the border. And realistically, they got plenty of time between now and the time they're going to do the planting. It's important to stabilize the whole area, but there's plenty of time to come up with a new application to change the boundary for the non-encroachment area, and then see what the commission says. It has to be a new application.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we hold off to the next meeting for the restoration plan, just so that I can come up with language that talks about the area that is not included in this plan, because then the commission could order that this plan is accepted, but then order that additional work be done.
So my present motion was entirely a bit of restoring the silt fence and stabilizing the area for winter.
Okay. Sounds good.
And
Any other
David
discussion?
seconded that. David
I don't
seconded
understand
it.
it. Now that I understand it. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Sounds like a nay. Anybody say no? Approved unanimously by those commission members present. And we're on to the next.
Okay, so thank you, Jen. I'll follow up with you after
Okay,
the
good.
meeting.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Now we have the second item of business, the violation on 152 Talmadge Road. We have nothing from the person on Talmadge Road?
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
They
Kresnick.
still have time available. The commission gave them 60 days to have an engineer take a look at the work that was done and provide a report. So they're still within that time period.
Have you been in contact with these people at all? I know
No, I
before there was a
haven't.
problem.
I
Okay,
have not.
okay.
I did send an email after the last meeting and have not heard back.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Unfinished business, the permit application of the DeGenero Development and Construction Company on Weeson Academy Roads. You need to hear about this, correct?
Yes, so we do have Ryan McAvoy and Anthony Pizzone that are representing this, and I do have the images, so whenever Ryan or Anthony, you want me to put the plans up on the screen, let me know.
Okay. This is an application for a subdivision. The property runs from Weiss Road over to Academy Road. There are several locations for of wetlands and upland review areas that are there's activity in. With that, I'll just ask Ryan to speak to it. He's the one who's familiar with the wetlands activity.
Thank you, Attorney Frazone. For the record, my name is Ryan McAvoy. I'm a licensed professional engineer with Mylon McBroom. And Suzanne, if we could get started by going to the second sheet of our plan set, which highlights the existing conditions property, sheet EX. If you could pull that up.
1 second here.
I'll just get started. So the property actually that's the subject of this application consists of 2 lots currently, both under the same ownership. I'm going to refer to them as one parcel for the purposes of this application, although technically it is 2 separate ones today. So the property is a total of about 34 acres in size, all in the R40 zone. Next sheet I think would be best, Suzanne. The parcel, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with from driving around town, is most visible perhaps from Weiss Road, where as you enter in from Academy Road headed north on Weiss, there's a large open field to your left with Norton Brothers Fruit Farm on the right or on the east. This property has been historically agricultural in nature for the most part, although the only relic of the agricultural use, I'd say, is the hayfield in the eastern, roughly third or half of the site. The land uses surrounding it are single-family residential to the north, which is a subdivision approved in, I believe, 2007, roughly, called Pemberley Estates, with Baxter Court being a cul-de-sac with about 10 lots off of it. To the south, along Academy Road, are single-family residential houses in the R40 zone. To the west is Cheshire Academy. Not shown on this, but most recently there's a maintenance style building, I believe, that's been constructed near the property. That's really the only adjacent activity on the Academy piece near this site. And to the east across Weiss Road is Norton Brothers Fruit Farm, I believe it's referred to as. So the site includes a few different wetland areas, notably Honeypot Brook on the northern edge of the site with a dam and impoundment and a pond, which is primarily located on this property, although the northern extents of it are located on the Pemberley Estates parcels. And that dam has, of course, associated wetlands, although in general, the wetland edge is in close proximity to the water edge, although it does extend a little bit further to the south as you get closer to Weiss Road. Roughly midway through the sheet is the dam that creates the impoundment and spillway, and to the west is Honeypot Brook and associated wetland areas. To the southeast along Weiss Road, there is a drainage swale, which is classified as a field wetland. It is mowed and cleared as part of the historical agricultural use. And that wetland is conveyed via a small diameter pipe to the drainage system in Weiss Road. Further to the southwest, Suzanne, if you could pan a little bit to the lower left. Thank you. And scroll down. There we go. In the lower, roughly lower central portion of your sheet, of your screen, there is, thank you, there is a isolated wetland area and associated upland review area that essentially is a low draining pocket that is eventually drains to a catch basin adjacent to Academy Road and off to the west on Academy Road. So the majority of the site is actually just over half is wooded presently, although historically was agriculture just as the eastern side of the site is. Eastern side again is Hayed Fields. So the topography, as you can see from Weiss Road, is sort of rolling in nature. It's actually very interesting topography on the site. But the high point is located in the south central, roughly, portion of the site at 252, draining down to Honey Pot Brook to the north, which is roughly 200 plus or minus in the northwest side of the site, and then back down to 238 from the high point in the central part of the site to Academy Road, low point being 238 in that wetland pocket. And that is a brief summary of the existing conditions. The wetlands were originally flagged in 2007. I believe there was an application presented to this commission that was ultimately withdrawn for a similar residential style development. And Matt Sanford of our office reinvestigated the site and redelineated the wetlands this year. And what we propose for the property, Suzanne, if you can go to sheet SP1, please, which is 2 sheets down. What we propose is a 21 lot single family residential subdivision that conforms to the underlying R40 zoning criteria. And all lots will gain access from a through road that will come from Weiss Road through the site out to Academy Road, or off of a short cul-de-sac, which you can see sort of in the center of your screen. The total linear footage of roadway is about 2,600, 2,250 feet of which is the through road from Weiss to Academy, and the cul-de-sac is about 340 linear feet. All lots are a minimum of 40,000 square feet in size. They will all be served by septic systems and public water, which will be brought in off of Weiss Road out to Academy. The roadway itself is a standard town roadway, 30 feet in width with sidewalks on both sides, with a conventional catch basin and pipe drainage system, which will convey stormwater to a series of either water quality basins or more significant stormwater basins that serve as detention facilities. So what we have off of the through road in the upper part of your sheet is the largest of the stormwater basins, which is located on lot 4. This stormwater basin conveys the majority of the roadway system. It will be located down gradient of any of the lots in partially within the upland review area, partially out of the upland review area, and down gradient of the spillway and dam associated with the pond. That basin represents the bulk of our upland review or regulated activities, which is approximately 0.3 acres in size, just over 0.3 acres in size. We have another small to the east or to the right. Suzanne, if you could pan over. We have a small little stormwater water quality basin, which will be collect the very end of our proposed road just before it gets to Weiss Road, where it will discharge into a water quality basin to allow stormwater to have reduced velocities before it enters into the wetlands. Relatively small watershed that contributes to that small water quality basin. And that is the, I guess, second, or we call it this regulated activity number 1, but the second that I'm discussing, upland review activity of 0.11 acres. And the last, I'd say most significant activity within the upland is further to the south along Academy Road. Suzanne, you're gonna have to scroll down to sheet SP2. Thank you. So the grade from the high point heading towards Academy Road, we're capturing the runoff with our proposed roadway system through a couple catch basins to a relatively small stormwater management basin to the east that is not located in the upland review area. However, portions of the road and the associated grading for the road are located in the upland review area, and that's for a very specific reason. Our intersection with Academy Road is chosen because there is a fairly abrupt, at least abrupt as far as state roads go, abrupt high point uh, along Academy Road. And we are placing our road as close to the high point as we can to ensure that we can see over the high point for sightline distance looking to the west towards the center of town. As close as the high point as we can without proposing any activity within the wetland itself. So what we have in order to provide a safe intersection is some minor activity within the upland review area associated with the road. And again, the location is chosen specifically because of the geometry of the high point in Academy. And that upland review area is also relatively small, upland review activity rather, and it's under a tenth of an acre, roughly 0.07 acres. So the total upland activity is just about half an acre in total between the three separate areas. In terms of the lots themselves, we only need a very small area of upland disturbance on lots 1, again on SP1, Suzanne. Sorry to make you jump around.
Okay, am I going back to where I was?
Yeah,
previously?
you gotta go back. I'm sorry. Okay, so lots 3 and lots 1, we anticipate a very minor amount of activity within the upland review area for the purposes of grading for these septic systems. By activity within the upland, I anticipate about 5 or so feet into the upland review area. There is one item, actually before I get to that, the remainder of the lots mostly have no upland review area or wetlands on them. There are a handful, namely lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 9, and lastly, lot 20 that do have wetlands and or upland review area on them, but we will not be required to do any grading or site disturbance within the upland review areas. One item that we don't show on our plans at the moment is how we could theoretically provide at least recreational access to the pond for 3 of the lots in the development, lots 1, 2, and 3, on the upper portion of the sheet that you have in front of you. They have fairly significant parts of their lots to the north that will include the pond. And while we don't require significant upland review activity to construct the lots as proposed, the upland review area is quite overgrown with multiflora rosa and pedestrian access or recreational access to the pond is not really feasible at the moment on those lots. As you, as I'm sure some of you recall, there was some issue with the properties to the north where clearing was done perhaps beyond your expectations with the original Pemberley Estates approval. So before we propose anything in that area, I wanted to see if we could get an understanding from the commission as to what sort of recreational activity might be permittable or possible within that area to gain access to the pond. So that's certainly something we'd be willing to accept suggestions on. In terms of other application materials, we did receive a comment letter from Anchor Engineering, consultant engineer reviewing the plans. There's a number of comments that they have, many of which are, I'd say, associated with the perhaps the planning and zoning application, which is also pending. They do have some comments regarding our stormwater basins, how they're constructed, and we are working to address those comments. We do not have a response yet, but we expect to have that either hopefully as early as tomorrow or perhaps early next week. One of their comments that I did want to bring up is in regards to lot 20, which Suzanne is to the lower right-hand corner of the screen. Jumped. Okay, that's if you could just pan over to the right, thank you. So the wetland in the lower right-hand corner of lot 20 drains or discharges to a 12-inch, I believe 12-inch pipe that, as I mentioned before, drains the wetland and goes into the drainage system within Weiss Road. I believe it was one of the suggestions of the consultant engineer that this might be considered for removal of that pipe, creation of wetlands, and then allowing the drainage to continue down closer to Weiss Road, where some sort of a new storm drain inlet could be installed to convey it to the road. Looking at what exists on the site today, and the fact that this is all part of the original hayfield or the existing hayfield, I spoke with Matt Sanford about that, about what potential that may have, and it's our thought and his thought and mine that there'd be very limited value in doing that, because the wetland that's there is essentially mowed hayfield, and the removal of portions of the pipe would not result in significant wetland creation. And right now we have a drainage system that seems to function without causing issue on Weiss Road. And the preference that we have would be to keep that in place rather than try to come up with a plan that may not be as effective as it is currently. So that is going to be our response to that suggestion. And that can certainly be something we can talk about this evening, or you can wait for our formal response to that comment. Additionally, with the plan, we include a sediment erosion control plan and narrative that is designed in accordance with the 2002 guideline for sediment erosion control, which includes temporary sediment traps, silt fence, hay bales, downgrading of any activity near the wetlands. I guess with that, that summarizes my brief presentation of the application as proposed, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Ryan, I have one that occurs immediately. There are a lot of
Sure.
test pits on this site,
Yes, sir.
and what was submitted to us, at least what I received, I didn't get any data on the actual test pits. I got their location, but not the actual data. As I remember, these are Yalesville soils for the most part.
Yes.
And in that part of town, when you dig down, you quite often find remnant chunks of sandstone in there because the old sandstone rotted away in forming that Yalesville soil. So I'm wondering if in your test pit you encountered, if the sandstone's so soft you can actually dig right through it, but it's common in that area.
Yeah, so our plan set, Dr. Dimmick, does include all the test pit results, and those are found in the last, I believe, 2 or 3 sheets of the plan set.
I didn't get those last 2 or 3 sheets in my copy. I think that's what it.
Okay.
If Suzanne has a copy of that, I might be able to take a look at it.
Ryan, is it something that I can scroll to right now?
Yes, there are some 100 or so test pits on the site, so there's a lot of data, and it may not be easy to pick it apart during this meeting, but yeah, at the last 2, second and third last sheets of the set would include that data. But to go back to your one sheet up, yeah, to answer your question, Charles, about the nature of the soil, we did encounter some of what you spoke of, and the way Chess-Procot tends to identify soils of that nature, they refer to it as atypical ledge, even though oftentimes it doesn't resemble bedrock at all.
Well, you can get a shovel right through it, but
Oh, yeah.
ledge, and it does tend to cause water migration to start moving horizontally instead of vertically when it gets to them.
Yes, and the septic design, when we encounter soils like that, we consider that to be a restrictive layer, similar to a hard pan or similar to ledge itself.
And that other soil you have on the site down the middle of it is a Weathersfield soil, which also tends to have a hard pan, as I remember.
Yeah, so the soil testing was a little mixed. There were some lots that had some challenges with regard to restrictive layers, but we did just receive yesterday a letter from Chesprocott that all the lots have suitable soils for septic.
Right. It's just what occurred to me when I looked at that and saw the soil types.
Right.
Dr.
No,
Dimick, would you like a full-size set of sheets that contain all this information?
Yes, I would if it's not too much trouble for the town to send it out.
No,
I
that's no
presume-
trouble.
I presume we're going to move to have a public hearing on this, considering the complexity of the application.
I'd be happy to provide extra copies of that, Suzanne, to your office, so you don't have to
Okay, thank
tear
you.
apart our sets.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, is it in order for me to make the motion to hold a public hearing on?
I believe it is. I just wasn't sure that the presentation, that the presenters were through with the presentation.
Doesn't mean I have to be through with it at this point. I just thought it was appropriate to present it enough to make that a valid motion.
Yeah, I agree with your suggestion about a public hearing. Any other comments?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, what would be the reason for calling the public hearing? Is this more out of a thought of public interest, or?
I would say both public interest and the potential of considering alternatives to the proposed layout and potential adverse impacts to the stream and dam area to be investigated.
So that's A, right? 10.2A and B. And because A's environmental impact, B's prudent alternatives, and what else did
think
you
that-
say?
And the other one was public interest, which is,
In public interest.
yeah.
I second that motion.
Moved by Dr. Dimick, seconded by Ms. Dunn. Any comments? Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, what date would the commission like to hold the public hearing? The next the next meeting date is scheduled for November 17th. And with the governor's executive order allowing posting of public hearings to go on the town website as opposed to having to be in the paper twice, we are able to make that date. So if the commission would like, we could hold it for November 17th. Or if not, then the other date would be the only meeting in December, which is December 1st.
Do we need to do a site walk before this or not?
I would suggest individual site walks, but I don't know. I know
Okay.
the area.
You know the property.
Yeah. We've walked it before. So
Yes, we have.
yeah.
Do we need to make arrangements, or can any of us at any time just go over there and walk the property? That would be the consideration.
You certainly have the owner's permission to do that.
Okay, that'll make it easier. We can do that on our own. And I think, I don't know what category it comes under, but you asked for some suggestions about how to handle a pathway for recreational purposes to the pond in the north side of the property.
We vote on holding a
Perhaps be a
public hearing.
subject of a hearing. Right, that'd be a subject of a hearing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So
Did we
keep that
vote
in
on
mind.
that? We have the motion. Did we ever vote on it?
No,
No, you
not
haven't
yet.
voted yet.
Yeah.
We're commenting.
right.
Okay. We got all our ducks in a row? All in favor of the
Yes.
motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously by those commission members present.
Now we need a date.
On to- Well, the 17th, I thought we decided for the hearing, right?
Is that all right with the applicant?
Ryan, that's all right with me. How about you?
I will not be able to attend the 17th, but I can have someone attend in my absence.
I was saving the 7th, thinking the 17th was good because it gets it done sooner. And if we
I would
go in
agree.
December, you gotta wait till next year to respond and have us do a motion.
We're
If you want to wait, you know,
nope. No, we'll have somebody attend the meeting qualified to speak to it.
that's satisfactory,
Yes, sir.
so be it. Unfinished business is done. Under new business, request for determination by Phil Bowman and Jason Pincus. Who's here?
Jason.
Hi. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mr. Chairman. I'm in the process of purchasing number 5 Beechwood Court from Pinnacle Land Development, which is Phil Bowman is the current property owner and builder of the property. And we intend to close on the property towards the end of the calendar year. And I submitted a letter request for determination for a shed partially in the upland review area and a portion of privacy fencing in the upland review area. Nothing is physically going to be in wetlands.
Okay, and this is for a determination rather than an application, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
this is a determination
We can do that,
request.
correct? Yeah. We can make a determination in
Yes,
that area? Okay.
yes. So this is the information that Mr. Pincus had supplied. It identifies the location of the property, the existing house, the wetland area, the marked non-encroachment line, which follows in this sort of jog out that goes towards the woods. And as identified on the plan, it shows a location for the shed and the fence. And in speaking with Mr. Pincus for the shed, majority of the shed is proposed to be outside of the non-encroachment area, with a third of the shed requesting to be moved into the non-encroachment area. And it's also discussed in the narrative that there's no clearing that's needed for this. The fence, the privacy fence going from the house towards the rear of the property, it proposes to install some posts within that upland review area, and Mr. Pincus in conversation had indicated that there was no vegetation that was proposed to be cut, and that the panels actually were going to be up much higher off the ground, with the purpose being that they would be level to the house. And with the topography, there will be space underneath the fence. And again, the purpose was privacy, not so much to keep anything out. And Mr. Pincus, if I, feel free to jump in if there's
So
something
you did a
that
really
I'm
good job.
missing. And the pictures that were attached here is the shed. And then we have some details of the location. So this is the existing house. Okay, this is the area where the shed is proposed. And Mr. Pincus, this is the 1/3 area that is proposed. The shed will project out, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then this shows the direction of the fence. And this indicates the end of the fence.
Yes, that's correct.
So is that basically at the edge of clearing?
Yes. Well, the clearing continues past that, actually.
Okay. So it's mostly lawn area.
Well, I'm sorry. When you say clearing, it's just.
Oh, sorry,
don't
I
know.
mean lawn area. It looks
Oh.
as though you are standing maybe 1 foot off of the lawn.
No, I'm
in
off
distance?
the lawn by probably 12 feet.
Oh, okay,
I'm down a little bit of grade. So
okay.
you're when I took your advice after we spoke, and I ended up finding the other post, which was much farther down than I was looking, to be honest.
Okay,
So I put up a string connecting the posts, and the area for this fence in the upland review area is no more than 10 feet into the upland review area. Just looking at, giving the extra dimension of the string to see, where is considered not upland review area, referencing the wetlands, and where the goal would be to stop to provide the sightline block that we're looking for. So I'll probably be looking at 1 to 1.5 panels of fencing. So 2 to 3 hand dug fence posts.
Okay. And the vegetation that we see that maybe is 2.5 feet tall, that's just something that will remain or just need to be clipped, but you're not proposing to excavate that area out for the
No, not at
installation of
all.
the posts.
The
Okay.
goal is to keep the aesthetics from the road intact and the grade of the fence carrying off the house. So the posts would be extending beneath it.
Okay.
Doesn't seem to pose any danger to the wetland.
No,
It's just a
I-
matter of whether we want to let them change the line, correct?
all the activities would be in the side of the shed facing the house, not the side of the shed facing the wetlands, I presume.
Yes, sir. Correct.
So that actually serves as an additional barrier to getting into the wetlands if you've got a shed sitting there.
Well,
I don't see a
during
problem.
discussion, do we hear a motion for determination? You got your picture there, Charles. Must be you.
I shouldn't be making all the motions.
That's
But
all
you're
right.
so good at it.
I move to declare the proposed activity de minimis and not requiring a permit, a wetlands permit from the commission.
Is there a second?
I guess I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion by Dr. Dimick, seconded by Ms. Dunn. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Any opposed? Carried unanimously by those commission members present. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Kurtz.
Thank you.
Next, the permit application by Ball and Socket Arts. Do we have someone for the applicant?
Yep. Good evening, Anthony Fazzone again, and Ryan McAvoy is also here. This is with respect to the Ball and Socket property on West Main Street. Number of years ago, we received approval to create an adaptive reuse zone there. Since that time, there's been a significant amount of environmental remediation to the property and ongoing fundraising to be able to do the renovations that they'd like to do and that were approved by planning and zoning. That permit, the planning and zoning permit, has also expired, and we have filed an application to planning and zoning for a new approval. Your permit expired in June of 2019. There is a provision that and under the P&Z, there's a provision for extensions of 1 year. But at the time period that expired, there was no real activity to come before you about. And it was just decided that it would be best to get a new approval of the same plan. The plan, and I've asked in my cover letter that to the extent we haven't presented some of the old plans for the commission members to refresh their memories, we've asked that the prior application and the record of the prior application be made a part of the record in this application. With that, I like to just have Ryan go over and explain to you what the wetland activities were that that were approved previously.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. Again, for the record, it's Ryan McAvoy, professional engineer with Mylone and McBroom. And the application before you is identical to what was approved by this commission roughly 6 or 7 years ago. And for those who weren't part of the commission at the time, this was an exciting project to renovate a piece of land that we all are familiar with in town, obviously, along West Main Street. It's the old ball and socket factory, Willow Street to the east, West Main Street to the north, and the canal to the west. As I'm sure you're all aware, much of the site, almost all of it, is historically disturbed as part of industrial uses. And what the applicant seeks to do is to renovate the building for a whole assortment of potential uses, all surrounding or all part of their arts program. And in particular, much of the site work as part of this application is centered or focused on the south side of the building as you go along Willow Street. Suzanne, if you could go to sheet LA, perhaps, which is the third sheet in the set. So to the south of the building, which is in the bottom of your sheet, there are essentially paved access ways, storage areas, some old dilapidated buildings in the south part of the site, some essentially just lay down areas. And we're looking to demolish some of the buildings in that area, rehab some of the buildings, and create, to the extent possible, parking in that part of the site, and also plaza space and entry statements to the south side of the building. There is very little change in impervious surface as a result of this in the south side. Namely, in the southwest, there are some areas that were historically disturbed but have somewhat revegetated. So we are proposing some minor stormwater management improvements in the southwest corner of the site. And the additional improvements in that area will include underground stormwater storage, water quality enhancements, and point discharge along the stream, or the canal rather. In the northern part of the site, there is some rehabilitation or some new parking as well, some of which is within the upland review area. All that area along the canal on the front side of the building, again, is historically disturbed. So what we're looking to do is essentially create parking in that area. Total upland activities are roughly 0.16 acres in the northern side near West Main Street, and 0.27 acres in the southwest side, south of the building. And what we're proposing right now are 2 stormwater outfalls that will go directly into the canal, rather than the sort of unconventional or sheet flow that it kind of uncontrolled manner comes off the site today. And those 2 outfalls we refer to as direct wetland impact A and B, with Suzanne, if you could go to sheet UT, which is 2 further down. Thank you. So our stormwater outfall in the southwestmost corner of the site is direct wetland impact A, where we'll install an end wall for the storm drain outfall, again, right adjacent to the canal. And that is a total of 50 square feet of impact into the wetlands. And just to the north of that, if you could zoom in, perhaps it might be clearer.
Hard to see.
Yeah. Even one more if you could, Suzanne, maybe to 50%. Thank you. And scroll down. Scroll, yeah, down. And to the left. Oh,
Did I go to the wrong sheet?
it jumped. Okay.
Okay.
Now scroll to the left. Okay, so the first stormwater outfall I referred to is in the lower leftmost corner of the screen, where we call end wall. That is just into the wetland area, and that's chosen because of the available elevation on the site to discharge the stormwater. And then the next direct wetland impact is just to the north or up on the sheet, to the left of what we call existing building number 5. That is also a stormwater discharge that will end in an end wall, right adjacent to the canal itself. So those are the 2 direct wetland impacts that were approved as part of this, and the upland activities associated with parking in the north and south of the parcel. Again, identical to what was approved before. So if you have any questions for me or for Anthony, we'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? No questions?
Mr. Chairman, the engineering consultant is reviewing this, and it's expected that they will get comments back to the commission next week in time for the next meeting.
Okay. In time for the applicant to take a look at it too, right?
Hopefully, yes.
Before the next meeting? Okay,
Hopefully, yes.
sounds good. So we've gone as far as we can this evening?
I think so, yes.
Okay. See you at the next meeting. Is there any
Thank
further new business? Oh,
No.
okay, without a motion, I'll close this meeting at 8:32.
Well, goodbye.
Bye.
Night. Nice picture, Charles, really is.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes, well done.
Yeah.
I was wondering how come it was still daylight where he is.
Well, that's along the canal, so the figure is appropriate for Cheshire wetlands.
That's
Okay.
very good.
Mhm.
Goodbye, everyone.
Good
Bye.
night.